The oil shortage hoax and why globalists love electric vehicles. It's not why you think. As gasoline prices continue to spiral, major media and government are telling us on a daily basis that there's an oil shortage and it's all Russia's fault, all Putin's fault. For instance, here is a CNN headline. Oil prices are spiraling higher on supply concerns as the Russia-Ukraine crisis develops, and this could lead to demand destruction and economic recession or depression. But is this accurate? Is this an accurate headline? Is there actually an oil shortage at all? Or is it just a hoax to force the world to accomplish other globalist goals, devious goals that are part of a totalitarian takeover known as the Great Reset? In this video, we're going to look at just that. First, how big an impact did the Russian oil embargo have on the U.S. gas prices? If you look at the pumps, you'd think it was an enormous impact. I mean, price of gas is double what it was last year at this time. But as we can see, Russian oil only makes up 8% of U.S. oil. And according to WoodMac, world supply of oil is actually supposed to grow in 2022 and outpace demand. There is no shortage. And combined, the U.S. and Canada have approximately the same amount of oil in the ground as Saudi Arabia. It would be nice if we had the Keystone Pipeline to ship it, but the oil is there in North America. And in fact, USA's drilling for oil is up over 60% of where it was during the pandemic. When oil production catches up with the new drilling, there will be lots of oil. So why is there an oil crisis? We need to ask that question. Well, because the media and government are telling you that there's one. That's the only reason. And this has actually happened before. The great, quote, oil crisis of 1979 may well go down in history as one of the greatest frauds ever perpetrated on a helpless people. Hey, I had a haircut just like that kid in the photo back in 1979, and I remember those gas lines. However, as you can see from this photo, my haircut isn't quite the same anymore. The reality is that there was no shortage of oil. This is verified by every reasonable source. Statistics show that there was more oil available than there had been the previous year in 1978. But there were gas lines, and there were murders of frustrated motorists. In a word, there was a massive crisis, but there was no shortage. President Jimmy Carter's speech on July 17th ignored reality. He insisted that the shortage was real. He did it to drive up prices to help big oil. This time, however, although helping big oil might be part of the issue, it seems the globalists are pulling the strings of those in media and government to drive your costs up every time you pump gas. And they're doing it for ulterior motives. What are those motives? We need to know. Why do globalists want higher gas prices? Before we answer, a shout out to a member of our community, Cameron Stone, for helping research this video. Now, why do the globalists want the appearance of an oil shortage? Well, two reasons. First, they will tell you that high gas prices will save the environment by driving consumers toward electric vehicles by cutting emissions. In the USA, Biden has announced that he wants 50% of all vehicles to be electric by 2030. And the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, came out saying the government wants everyone to buy an electric vehicle. Biden is even asking Congress to offer huge tax incentives for electric car purchases, like up to $12,500. So why is the government so hot on electric vehicles? Well, because the government are puppets of world billionaires who are driving us toward a globalist, socialist, totalitarian state. And electric vehicles are perfect for a totalitarian regime. That is why China is pushing electric vehicles on their people. In fact, they have made mandates for certain percentages of electric vehicles and have for years. Wow, that seems very noble of China, doesn't it? You probably think that until you learn the real reason behind their push to electric cars. It's data collection. Data that can be fed into their social credit score system. In fact, China requires that all electric vehicles sold in their country gather a minimum of 61 data points on how, when, where, and how fast the vehicle was moving. The Washington Post hacked into the onboard computer of a 2017 Chevy Volt, an electric car, and found that they were collecting the following information: details about where the car was driven and parked, call logs, recording of all calls, identification information for the phone, and contact information from the phone, right down to the people's addresses, emails, and even photos. And get this, the private information from the previous owner was still on the computer as well. Tesla has even more information. They have an onboard camera that ostensibly gathers data to analyze crashes, but realistically, it records you every single time you're in your EV. Interestingly, the Chinese government does not permit its military or government officials to rent Teslas or other electric cars outside of their own country. What does that tell you? So, even if you leave your cell phone behind in China, trying to avoid detection, if you use your vehicle to go to an underground church, well, the government knows it. Likely whatever you say in your electric vehicle, the government knows it. If you visit a friend who has said something against the government in the past, the government knows it and will likely punish you for it. It's all kind of Big Brother, isn't it? And interestingly, it seems that electric cars can be shut down centrally. Maybe if you go somewhere you shouldn't, or say something you shouldn't about the government, they can do this to you. Elon Musk was recently asked on Twitter to turn off all the Teslas in Russia owned by Putin and his super-rich friends. Musk did not deny that his vehicles have such a kill switch. And wait till you hear this. Speaking of kill switches, as part of the USA's infrastructure bill that was just passed this year, the USA has mandated that all cars manufactured after 2026 have such a kill switch. All cars. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel that the media isn't reporting on this? So the government will eventually have the ability to punish you by turning your vehicle off. And second, it will have the ability to stop you from going places it doesn't want you to go. And this leads us to reason number 2 for a fake oil shortage. One place that globalists don't want people going is outside the city limits. Their utopia is all city-based, where everyone lives in a 200 square foot apartment full of smart technology that can spy on you at home wherever you are. They don't want people living in the country where they can grow their own food and maybe have interconnections that are so poor the government can't spy on you as easily. That's why each and every single article on the Great Reset by the World Economic Forum speaks of city life, city planning, etc. There's nothing in any of their plans about rural life, except trying to eliminate it and making those rural places into protected zones for the environment, of course. And people in the country use substantially more oil in commuting. They use it for tractors and other pieces of equipment that those in the city just don't have. So an oil shortage pushes people away from the country and into the city, just what globalists want, into vehicles that may be programmed to not be able to operate outside of the city limits. Can you see how this could be used against you? And the third and maybe most pressing reason globalists might want to push a fake oil shortage is to force inflation on the world. Yes, they actually probably want to force increased inflation because inflation rises faster than your paycheck. Your buying power decreases the more inflation there is. In the book of Revelation at the third seal, we see this loss of buying power get so bad that a person will work all day to earn only a simple loaf of bread. This is a 10,000% loss in buying power. based on today's economy. What would a person do if they had that little buying power? Well, either they'd starve or they'd need a bailout. And who would do that? Why, of course, your friendly neighborhood globalist bankers and billionaires who would give you a minimal basic income, a living wage, in other words, in exchange for taking your house, your car, all your assets, and making you a slave of the government. Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that the concept of the Great Reset? Why, yes, it is. It is exactly what the globalists are planning. And fake oil shortages help them accomplish that. Nothing drives inflation faster than the price of oil, which is used in all cars, home and business heating, the manufacture of plastics, and the transportation of absolutely everything by truck, boat, plane, etc. If oil goes up, the price of everything goes up. And rising prices are the key to devaluing your buying power and crushing the individual. In Western democracies, the individuals have tremendous purchasing power, and the globalists want to destroy it, so people aren't self-reliant. So the globalists have all the power. In that case, you would have to do what you are told. That is their plan. Of course, that isn't only the beginning of their plan. The ultimate plan is transhumanism, to connect the mind of every person on Earth to a computer and eventually control even their thoughts. Click right here to see actual video clips of globalists talking about how, in their opinion, the loss of free will and your soul is a good thing. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.